Let's technologies for addressing global challenges. And I welcome everyone who is here with us today at the Russian Pavilion at World EXPO in Dubai, as well as those who joined us online. My name is Alexei Kalinin. I am Professor of Business Practice and Director of the Institute for Emerging Market Studies at Moscow School of Management, Skolkovo, and I am honored to facilitate our discussion today. Well, unlike nuclear energy applications, which has recently gotten to the spotlight again, as policymakers and governments all around the world have started to consider nuclear energy as a part of the climate action. The non-energy applications of nuclear technologies are not that well known outside of the nuclear community. So today we will try to fill this gap and talk about the way how, what those non-energy applications are, why they are important, and how we can use those non-energy applications of nuclear technologies to address the global challenges. Today we picked two major challenges to address. One would be medicine and healthcare, and another is food security. And we will also speak how non-energy applications of nuclear technology can support science and innovation and education, as well as human capital development. We will explore this universe together with our host, Rosatom, which is a world leader in nuclear technology, but also not only in nuclear energy, but also in non-energy applications. And I would like to introduce our major leading speakers from Rosatom, and Dr. Natalia Komarova, who is General Director of Rosatom Healthcare, and Mr. Dmitry Vysotsky, Vice President of Rosatom Overseas. And we also have an incredible and fantastic panel of experts coming from all over the world, and we will have their contributions and viewpoints later on. Before we start, let me make a few housekeeping comments. So first of all, we have three sessions today. One will be, as I said, on medicine and healthcare, another on food security, and the third one on science and technology. I will be introducing speakers for each of the sessions, and if we have time, we will try to take one or two questions from the audience. We are able to take the questions from here, from Russian Pavilion, as well as online. If you are online and willing to ask a question, please type it into the comment box, and we will take it from there. And with this, I would like to give a start to our first discussion, which is the application of non-energy nuclear technologies in medicine and healthcare. And I would like to introduce our speakers who are joining us online. First of all, Professor Andrei Kaprin, Chief Oncologist of Russia, Dr. Mark Plesko, CEO of Kozilab Slovenia, and Mr. Hananarong Shamsup, Deputy Executive Director of Thailand Institute for Nuclear Technology. And now I would like to invite Dr. Komarova to start the discussion and give us a Rosatom perspective on the global developments in nuclear medicine and where Rosatom solutions fit into the bigger picture. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Alexei, and good afternoon, colleagues, all colleagues online and all audience here. So it's a pleasure to welcome you to this panel session devoted to non-energy nuclear technologies, which is so important for modern world. It's especially great that EXPO 2020 is the place of discussion. So I start with some facts and figures. there has been a shift in the perception toward nuclear technologies. The recognition of nuclear energy as green gives a new push to the development of nuclear medicine. Today there is a neutral positive attitude of the population, and let me give you some examples. For example, 61% of Americans hold his neutral positive attitude, 57% in France, 74% in Russia, and here in UAE it's about 88%. So technologies involving in peaceful atom makes it possible to significantly improve their quality of life and increase life expectancy, change the life of people suffering from cancer and other socially significant diseases, as well also provide additional opportunities for other industries such as agriculture, and I'm going to talk about this later. Here are some figures from World Health Organization. You know that oncological diseases are among the leading causes of death in the world. And about 90 million people are diagnosed with the disease for the first time each year, with an annual mortality rate about 10 million. In cardiology, the leading cause of death worldwide, the figure is even sadder. It's about 18 million people die each year. Unfortunately, these numbers are set to rise dramatically in the near future. Today, there is serious shortage of such patient-centered infrastructure in the global healthcare. The pandemic, for example, has resulted in problems with systemic prevention and early detection of diseases such as cancer. If we look, for example, on leaders in nuclear medicine, such as USA, Japan, Europe, the number of cases detected is almost 50% lower with significant delays. Screening are almost 20% lower than before pandemic. This will lead to an increase in the number of late detection of diseases and consequently an increase in the need for the world's population to have access to nuclear medicine technologies. Nuclear medicine, you know, is one of the most promising methods of diagnostic and treating cancer. This is creating a worldwide demand of the most demand for the construction of centers where patients can receive a full range of treatment and diagnostic services using nuclear medicine technology. And currently, there is only global demand for one nuclear medicine center for 10 million people. So what does Rosatom do? Rosatom certainly does not stand aside in this at the face of this issue. We strive to increase the availability and efficiency of high-tech nuclear medicine services in our task to become a partner of society in this area. So now we are the leader in isotope sales, and we cooperate with more than 50 countries in this area. But we do not plan to stop only at the raw material component. Already today, Rosatom has started the construction of a modern radiopharmaceutical manufacturing plant in accordance with the international GMP standards. This will change the current situation in the nuclear medicine market and significantly increase the availability of modern radiopharmaceuticals for the population. In addition, Rosatom offers a line of equipment for cyclotron chemical complex for isotope production. Functionally, cyclotrons provide autonomous production for a range of radiopharmaceuticals to cover the needs of medical institutions worldwide. This is why it's logical for us to develop in the field of nuclear medicine equipment. And that's why Rosatom offers a range of its own state-of-the-art brachytherapy and radiotherapy equipment. This year, for example, we began to mass production of the brachydacid gamma therapy complex for high-dose brachytherapy. Also, this year, the Onyx electron accelerator-based radiotherapy complex is scheduled to begin serial production. And this apparatus is designed for treating tumors of different nosologies and localization using remote beam therapy, and both independently and in combination with surgery and chemical treatment. So it's important to note that the equipment will be provided with innovative software, and one of our partners from Slovenia, Mark Pleska, I see him, will speak about this later and about our project as well. So Rosatom is actively developing this area in Russia, building a network of nuclear medicine centers across the country, and supplying them with our equipment as well as radiopharmaceuticals. But we are ready to share our experience in this area with partners around the world. As I mentioned before, we cooperate with 50 countries as well, but we aim to expand this partnership by providing services such as nuclear medicine center and radiopharmaceutical and medical equipment, of course. And I am convinced that only through partnership can we work effectively to solve these challenges faced by global healthcare system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Komarova. And I really think that sometimes during these pandemic times, we often forget about the other illnesses and other challenges that our healthcare system faces, as well as that people die not only from COVID, and of course the illnesses that you have mentioned, like oncology and cardiology, remain the major factor of the major cause of death in many countries. So it's great that nuclear technology can address this issue. And with this, I would like to pass the word to Professor Andrei Kaprin, and let me give you full titles of Professor Kaprin. He is the Director General of the Russian National Medical Research Center of Radiology. He's also a Director of Herzen Research Oncology Institute, and he's also Chief Oncologist of the Russian Federation. So, Professor Kaprin, what is your view on the developments of nuclear medicine in the world, and why do you think that nuclear technology have a special role in addressing those issues? And how nuclear technology can improve quality of life and extend the life expectancy? So please, Professor, the screen is yours.
Hello, and thank you so much for this very great experience for me to say a few words about development of radiopharmaceuticals in Russia. If it's possible, I'll speak Russian because it will be, for me, much clearer and it will be quickly.
Today, many international research practices change our standard conception on radionuclear therapy. First, we thought it would be polyionic treatment, but new approaches and the experience that we have now proves that it's a targeted therapy, super targeted therapy, and many trends show that it may replace important approaches to treatment, important technologies, and combined treatments, complex treatments. So according to world trends, by 2030, the world market will reach $26 billion, and average growth will be 13%. The growth of the market of radiopharmaceuticals is 7% a year, and we expect that the market of radiopharma will grow by 28% a year. I should say that there is a division between companies specialized on diagnostics and companies specialized on therapy is still within radiotherapy companies who produce radiopharma products. Traditional pharmaceuticals are interested only in traditional products, but there is a completely new tendency, and we know about it very well. Radiotheranostics. It's a priority trend. When during KT we can perform treatments, and with this tendency we can, or we will have the potential for the market growth. It includes lutetia, 131, iodine, bismuth, and radionuclides such as phthorus and helium and zirconium. We now understand that with the situation in chemistry treatment, especially with the disruptions in their production due to pandemic, I must say that right now radiotherapy pharma can replace or compensate those other treatments. What is interesting is that we have unique experience within the country. We got permission to create nuclear pharmacies inside our main medical centers. It's an interesting tendency. We can manufacture our own products that are not registered in Russia, but factually, this is a precedent. We can create individual direction of nucleoid complex therapy for our patients, depending on the sensitivity of the markers and genetic areas, especially when all other standard chemistry therapy has been used. Within the center, we have developed our own radiopharma based on radionuclides, lutetia, and 3 products are at the testing stage, and 2 of them are at the completion stage of the medical tests. Lutetium-177, the first procedure was conducted in Obninsk, the center that is 60 years old this year. In May 2021, we conducted the first phase of clinical tests. We included pharmacokinetics, and we have conducted 30 procedures of Lutetia-177, and during the test we saw that it's safe for patients for different conditions. Isometric markers were quite high, and we saw high safety for medical personnel. Interesting work is underway in the center for liver treatment especially for cases for liver cancer. Here we use iridium on our own microspheres. And we are developing a project with Rosatom. You know that our country has many regions. Some of them are far away, and here we can use generators to create products, and their fission period can take up to 6 months. It's an important aspect, and it's also important for the product's exports to the countries, to the former Soviet countries. The technical success is pretty high. We have produced many products, and we have conducted many clinical tests, and we have witnessed many interesting observations. So we've been using some of the products for up to 3 years, and we see good results of the therapy. Starting in 2015, we have been using proton therapy approach that was created by our engineers, and it raised interest in our Japanese colleagues. And an interesting situation is with the ganglion. The one that is used within the country allows us to use the beam not around the patient, but the patient is inside the beam in a special chair. And with the KT, it allows us to determine certain parameters.
We have already treated more than 600 patients with our accelerators with relapsed brain tumors. The same applies to head and neck cancer, and it is also a very interesting area. Now we also see radionuclide therapy as very interesting to treat glioblastoma, and you know that this is a highly relapsing tumor. And here, thanks to the opening of the gematoencephalic barrier, we're conducting a lot of interesting studies of the radionuclide therapy using endovascular surgery. In other words, we are ready, we are prepared, and we do have a very large number of very interesting know-hows. And as the builders of radionuclides, we've been working on very interesting approaches for quite some time now, and we need some support. And by the way, I'd like to thank the Ministry of Health, because the creation of this nuclear pharmacy makes it possible for us to follow the orders and do that in our own center. In other words, thank you so much for your attention, and I'm sorry I may have taken too much of your time with my answer, but this is a very painful issue for us. It is something that we need, and this is something that we're ready to promote. Thank you.
Catherine, and thank you very much for that impressive overview of what's going on in nuclear medicine now. And I was particularly impressed with the growth rates, but also with the new developments of in diagnostics and therapy, in combined diagnostics and therapy, and of course that radio pharmacy, that sounds especially amazing today. And well, thank you very much. And I think that this is one of the most developing branch of science now, and it saves lives. And we really hope it's and wish you all the best in your research, and hope that Rosatom will be a good partner in doing that. Moving on, I think that in this digitalized world, we can hardly imagine any area where digital technologies would not be a part of the solution. And I think that Dr. Mark Plesko would shed some light on to how software developments and digital technologies can leverage whatever is physical technologies in nuclear medicine do. And let me also give you full titles of Dr. Mark Plesko. He's an MBA, he's president of Cozy Lab Incorporated. He's also a president of Slovenian Engineering Academy, and also a president and of managing board of Stefan Institute, the largest national research institute in Slovenia. And he's also working party co-chair for sustainable development of the EU-Japan Business Roundtable, and also he is vice president of the Council for Science and Technology of the Republic of Slovenia. So, Dr. Plesko, please, would you share with us your thoughts and experiences on how digital contributes to the development and application of the nuclear medicine technologies? Please, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much for this nice introduction. I'm sending you a very, very warm welcome and hello from cold Europe to hot Dubai. And I really envy you that you can spend your time in Dubai in this nice environment in the Russian pavilion. So we are talking about digitalization, and we're talking about nuclear medicine. And we should be aware that people started treating health issues long time ago, probably in the Stone Age, maybe with a stone hammer, and then later we figured out we can use drugs and vaccines, and then we came to molecules, and finally to atoms. And this is what nuclear medicine is about. So nuclear medicine, in a way, is the pinnacle of human development, of using, let's say, physics or the environment to create, to treat health issues. And actually, since the first invention of X-ray, people have been always thinking how to use nuclear physics, nuclear technologies for healthcare. And of course, if you want to use atoms and photons, you know, these miniature particles of nature to treat humans, then you need very, very high precision to steer them in the right place and also to calculate the right dosage. And what is better than digitalization to do that? So obviously you need software. If you want to improve nuclear medicine, you need software, you need very good software, you need precise software, and you need fast software. Now it so happens that Cozy Lab is the world leader, it's the largest or the strongest independent software developer to control nuclear medical devices for oncology. And therefore we have partnered with Rosatom, because Rosatom is has the most comprehensive know-how of nuclear technology in general, and nuclear medicine in particular. So we really are a perfect match. If we just take the two systems that we currently work on as a start of our collaboration, the brachytherapy and the radiotherapy, and of course combining these two devices, which in itself are a pinnacle of human technology and are masterfully developed by Rosatom and its institute NITFA. And of course we add Cozy Lab software to do the precise calculations of, let's say, let's take an image from the patient, we see where the cancer is. By using AI, artificial intelligence, we can find out very precisely what type of cancer it is, where the cancer lies. Then we can calculate in a very complex Monte Carlo simulated software algorithm the treatment plan, how to treat the patient. Then we take the treatment plan from the software, put it back into these devices, into brachytherapy or radiotherapy, and then use it to precisely, razor sharply irradiate the cancer by trying to avoid the most susceptible organs that should not be irradiated. So in a way, we really augment the power of nuclear medicine with software. And this is the interesting thing. Software is, of course, a soft thing. It has no material value. But on the other hand, combining software with physical things, we can use software to make these things more efficient, to make them better. And that means that we are able to make healthcare, specifically oncology, and nuclear medicine more affordable for the people and also better. We are able to push the technology to reach the limits of the physics. And this is, I think, this is the great power of combining Rosatom's nuclear technology know-how and their expertise with COSELEP's software expertise. And I heard the professor mention also proton therapy. And this is, for example, something that we could, at some point in time, if this collaboration that we are starting right now will be successful, could be the next step. Rosatom is perfectly capable of developing nuclear accelerators. And again, by combining the know-how and the experience that we will have gained with radiotherapy, we could make a proton therapy system together. Again, Rosatom would do the technology and COSELEP would do the software. So in conclusion, I think we are right now at the cusp where nuclear medicine will really take off with the power of precise, also drug technology, with the power of precise software, with the power to be able to manipulate individual molecules, atoms, and also understanding very well the genetics of the patients and the impact nuclear medicine will have on each individual patient. So I think we live in very interesting times, and I'm looking really forward to be able to have a successful collaboration with Rosatom in the years to come. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Plesko, and that was really impressive. I especially liked your point about if you need precision, you need software. That's great. And of course, when it gets to the nuclear treatment, of course, you need precision. So your point about combined power of bytes and atoms was very impressive. And of course, we wish all the best to you and Rosatom in these joint developments and for saving more lives. And thank you very much, Dr. Plesko, again. And now I would like to invite Mr. Hananarong Shamsub, who is Deputy Executive Director at Thailand Institute for Nuclear Technology, to share his perspectives on what role does nuclear technology play in national health care. Of course, we understand that the governments all around the world are very much concerned about the public health and the well-being of the nation. And in different countries, nuclear medicine has different roles. We would be very interested to hear what role does it play in Thailand now and in the future. Please, Mr. Shamsub, the screen is yours. Please turn your mic on. You are on mute. Yeah. Now it's okay.
At Thailand Institute of Nuclear Technology, actually we are dealing with non-power nuclear technology, which is actually, I am in charge of nuclear medicine department, and half of our operation is about nuclear medicine. And in this case, the Thai government is really supportive in terms of providing nuclear medicine to the healthcare system. In the past couple of years, I have witnessed the increasing number of cancer patients in Thailand. I think this is a global trend as well, that the number of patients with cancers are increasing around the world. I think particularly in Thailand. And at the same time, when I see the number of patients with cancers increasing, I also witnessed that there are lots of hospitals having nuclear medicine department. A couple of years ago, we have 28 nuclear departments in nuclear medicine department in hospitals. Nowadays, the number becomes 34 hospitals with nuclear department. It means that the Thai government realized that this nuclear department or nuclear medicine is important to the healthcare system in Thailand. Is nuclear medicine is not only one way to treat cancer, but it's an alternative. And the increasing number of the hospitals with nuclear department shows that the Thai government is supporting the use of nuclear medicine in the healthcare system. But the point here is we have a problem with the cost of nuclear medicine. We at Thailand Institute of Nuclear Technology, we have a research reactor with 2 megawatts, which means that we cannot provide all the medicine that we need to local hospitals. And most of the radioisotopes you have to import. Most of the time is import from European countries, which is really costly. And this is why at this time, to support the government policy, we are building or is under construction for the cyclotron. We expect it to finish by the end of this year, which means that we can supply more radioisotope to the Thai healthcare system. At the same time, when we have high cost and we have more supply from the cyclotron, that is still not enough. This is why in Thailand, at our institute, we are planning to have the second research reactor with the size of 20 megawatts. If that comes in the next 10 years, we are going to have more radioisotopes to supply to the entire nation. It means that the cost of supplying radioisotopes domestically will be reduced by that time. But at this time, I can say that for the people under the government healthcare scheme, not all of them are able to access the nuclear medicine because the government healthcare scheme doesn't pay for some of the procedures for nuclear medicine used. But we have no problem with the private healthcare scheme. What we are saying is that in order for the government to stimulate the use of the nuclear medicine, the government has to provide subsidies for the nuclear medicine, and at the same time, they have to expand the coverage under the government healthcare scheme. For in the long run, what we do here, I can tell you that the government is supportive for our institution. Once we have new research reactors, we intend to be a hub of radioisotopes in Southeast Asia. Currently, Thailand is aiming to be medical hub in Asia, but medical hub is not complete without nuclear medicine. This is why in the long run, we plan to be a medical hub in ASEAN. And at that time, the cost of production of radioisotope in Thailand would be lower. But in the meantime, it's still high. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shamsub. And I really like to point that when you said that the government has already made the decision to develop nuclear medicine and integrate it into the healthcare system, but in order to do that, Thailand needs local manufacturing of radiopharmaceuticals, just because you need to make sure that you get the supplies in the amounts required, and also there is a cost factor. And I think that that's definitely a very wise decision to build a local facility, and as well as you mentioned, that would open up some new opportunities for Thailand to work as the regional hub for nuclear medicine, and that's fantastic. We wish all the best, all the good luck to the developments of the nuclear medicine in Thailand. Well, basically this completes our session on nuclear medicine, and we've heard very different perspectives from different parts of the world, but all of them, to me, sound like mutually complementary, and the bigger picture shows that there is a need, there is a huge need for nuclear medicine, and there are diseases that you can only diagnose and treat with nuclear medicine, and there are different ways and different approaches how you can use it, but during these pandemic times that also affect the supply chains, we definitely need to think how we can make sure that the radiopharmaceuticals and isotopes are available whenever they're needed in the amounts they're needed and in the places needed to save lives. And well, I think that was a very impressive exchange of opinions. And with this, I would like to move to the next topic, another challenge that we're going to discuss today, which is also addressable by the non-energy applications of nuclear technologies, and that is food security. I would like to start with introducing our speakers who are joining us online. Mr. Paul Wynne, Chairman and Director General of International Irradiation Association. Good afternoon. And Ms. Selina Horak, Section Head at Radioisotope Products and Radiation Technology at IAEA, International Atomic Energy Association. So I have already mentioned the supply chain perspective, which is relevant during this pandemic times, where we see a number of very significant disruptions in supply of many goods, including food. And also this is a part of the global fight against hunger. And we just need to see how the nuclear technologies can help us to fight to address this challenge and improve food security all over the globe. So I would like to invite Dr. Komarova to kickstart this discussion as well and share your views on the market developments as well as on what Rosatom can offer to support these developments internationally. Dr. Komarova, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, Alexei, thank you. I will spend just a few minutes to describe some trends and maybe some examples which we have in Rosatom Healthcare, and together with me, big and huge experts, and they will explain this area in more details. But anyway, some of the most important goals of sustainable development of the United Nations are the elimination of hunger, ensuring food security, improvement of nutrition, and promotion of sustainable agriculture. And these goals have significantly slowed down in their implementation. According to a United Nations report, 1/10 of the world's population lacks adequate access to food today. So it's bad. Based on this figure, fulfilling the international community's commitment to end hunger by 2030 requires an enormous effort. And I'm sure that the technology of peaceful atom can and must help with this fight. So Rosatom technologies for processing agricultural products can increase the shelf life of food in several times, which is so important. And another important thing, that this is absolutely safe for human consumption. Rosatom has many years of expertise in radiation and sterilization. Our multifunctional irradiation centers are being built and operate not only throughout Russia, but also around the world. We are now working with colleagues from Uzbekistan, for example, to create an irradiational center for agriculture products in their country, and our partner, one of the biggest agriculture producer in their country. So our technology is actively used not only in agriculture, but also in medicine. The pandemic has been a powerful catalyst for global transformation and has had a significant impact, including on our industry. Now the pandemic has greatly increased the importance of locally irradiated sterilization of medical devices, particularly disposable medical devices, including personal protective equipment, which has boosted the sterilization market around the world. You can see we can't live without this mask, for example, even 1 minute. The global sterilization market, it's interesting, was worth $4 billion in 2021 and will approach $5.1 billion in 2026. Therefore, manufacturers of medical devices and agriculture products need high-tech, cost-effective, and safe treatments of products. Apart from the ongoing pandemic, the following factors have contributed to the growth of the sterilization services market. And firstly, increasing number of surgical procedures being performed globally, driven demand for both single-use and reusable medical devices. Secondly, growing outsourcing of sterilization services among pharmaceuticals companies, hospitals, and medical device manufacturers. And finally, growing attention to food sterilization. So when it comes to the treatment of medical devices, we can reduce logistic cost and the cost of medical devices by organizing the complete circle of production in the region. In addition, the creation of center makes the region more attractive for the development of the medical device businesses, which is really important in this pandemic time. However, I see Rosatom's main mission in terms of the development of sterilization technologies as helping to solve the global food shortage problem. The sterilization centers enable the development of the agricultural industry and retail, which entail an increase in the economic potential of the regions where the centers will be located. So Rosatom offers two types of the ISO. And the first one, based on electron beam accelerator, which have some characteristic, and the second option based on gamma raw, which used the isotope cobalt-60. It's important to understand about this second option. And each center have and include irradiator, transport system, which we produce by ourselves as well, automated control system, production and administrative rooms, storage, radiation control and fire safety system. And again, based on Rosatom healthcare expertise, we are ready to implement joint product with local players, developing these processing services in the region, including opening new centers together and transferring its own expertise to operating partners to provide the highest quality services to medical device and agricultural products. And again, I convinced that only through cooperation we can solve all these problems.
Thank you very much, Dr. Komarova. Yeah, that's very impressive, and I think that extending shelf life of food is, on one hand, it helps to increase availability of food, but also it reduces food waste, which is one of the major contributors to the climate change. So obviously, this radiation sterilization technology can be a part of the bigger solution to a number of challenges. And yes, with this, I would like to pass the word to Mr. Paul Wien, Chairman and Director General of International Irradiation Association, to share his views on what are the current developments internationally in the sterilization industry, in radiation sterilization industry, and what are the prospects, what are the barriers possibly, are there any barriers for the development of this important field? So please, Mr. Wien, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. It's good to be with you this morning. It's probably worth just reflecting on some of the definitions first. We've talked about nuclear medicine, which is obviously the treatment of patients. And this, we're now going to talk about sterilization. So this is sterilizing single-use medical devices that are used in these medical procedures. Differs again from reusable equipment that's used in theatre. So single-use medical disposables, often these days, can be combined with pharmaceuticals. So just as we heard in nuclear medicine, there's crossovers occurring increasingly. So it's the case as well with sterilization, because single-use medical devices can sometimes include pharmaceutical products, and that has to be considered when you're choosing the appropriate sterilization modality. Radiation sterilization, of course, radiation could be gamma, EB, or X-ray, all forms of ionizing radiation. When we're talking about radiation sterilization, though, the technology that's really the most significant, the biggest one in the market, is using cobalt-60, using the gamma radiation, cobalt-60, and the isotope, and that's where Rosatom and JSC isotope come very much into this, because they help in the supply chain of providing the global supply of cobalt-60. Radiation
Стерилизация с помощью этих методов играет огромную роль по всему миру. И другие технологии, например, технологии газовой стерилизации составляют 50%. Ключевая динамика сегодня в этом вопросе – это нехватка поставок. Если посмотреть конкретно на облучение гамма, проблема сегодня – это нехватка поставок кобальта-60 на рынок. Одна из причин этому заключается в том, что рынки не готовы, а ключевые также реакторы, которые производят кобальт-60, они проходят программу переоборудования. То есть сегодня на рынке происходят изменения, и это продолжится где-то до 2030 года, 5-10 лет еще.
It is a slow process because even when the reactors are in place, putting cobalt-59 in, getting cobalt-60 out takes about 2 years. You've then got to get it into the market. So it's difficult to change that dynamic in the short term. That has the impact that prices are going up, cost is going up, but more importantly, from the healthcare manufacturers, they're looking at them, how do they get the amount of sterilization capacity they need to meet demand? And that's causing people increasingly to think, well, should we be switching to electron beam technology? And more recently, there's actually, there are facilities now being used for X-ray technology. So electron beam and X-ray is being brought in increasingly to supplement the capacity available for gamma radiation. You will hear on occasions that this is being driven more by security considerations, and that because cobalt-60 is a radioisotope, there are security concerns over that. But I would argue that the industry really has risen to the challenge of that and has embraced all the enhanced security that is actually needed and required and continues to evolve, and that what's really driving it isn't so much a desire to switch away from gamma towards EB and X-ray. It's more to do with the fact that how does the market provide the capacity that medical device manufacturers need, and therefore they're increasingly embracing EB and X-ray technology to supplement what's available from gamma. And there are some reasons why even gas technology, the ethylene oxide, which is an alternative to radiation sterilization, is struggling to expand to meet the demand, partly because of it uses a lot of energy, it produces, it's got exhaust, there's concern over the exhaust into the atmosphere. And over the last 20 or 30 years, that technology also moved. They had to move away from using freons, again, for environmental reasons. So there are lots of environmental reasons why ethylene oxide gas sterilization technology is suboptimal. Gamma radiation is ideal, but there's a capacity issue in terms of getting enough capacity. So EB and X-ray is increasingly the technologies that manufacturers and contract sterilizers are looking to fill that gap and to meet the demand. So that's really, what's happening from the overall global trend, a growing market for sterilization and the individual technologies struggling to increase and provide the capacity necessary to meet that. If we change tack now and say, well, what about the barriers to technology spreading? Some of these are, again, it's the same sort of problems. We would expand the use of the technology, but it's access to the cobalt-60 necessary to operate the gamma facilities. Licensing is generally an issue because people are increasingly nervous about facilities using radioisotopes, despite the improvements that they've made in security. The exception to that probably is India, where they are building a lot of facilities, and new gamma facilities have been built even within the last 2 years. There's a large facility built in Germany. So new facilities are being built, but there isn't commercially a lot of desire to do that when you're not sure whether you can get the necessary cobalt. There is, of course, the security concern and the enhanced cost associated with implementing all sorts of requirements around enhanced security. And then we've got to think about anyone building or using cobalt-60 has got to think about disposal. This is the radioisotope is generally used for 20 years, 30 years, and then it would go back to the supplier, and it will decay back to background radiation after about 180 years or so. So we're not talking thousands of years. This is a relatively short-lived radioisotope. EB and X-ray, in bringing that in, there are a relatively small number of competent manufacturers globally, and that's a challenge. Having the technical expertise and knowledge to define quite what systems you need. Is it high energy, low energy, medium energy? What are the particular characteristics of the accelerator or the X-ray equipment that you require to meet the processing requirements? It can be a complicated decision, and it very much depends on the market that you're looking to and the demand and so forth, and how you expand that. So increasing the knowledge and awareness and understanding of that is important. Having access to stable power supplies is clearly critical. So there are many countries around the world where they haven't got stable electricity power supplies, and that can be a barrier to developing that technology. COVID-19 has been a problem because that's impacted on, particularly whether you're supplying cobalt-60, you may have to have an installation team to go with it. Most of the cobalt is brought to the market wherever it's manufactured or produced. Most of it these days coming through Canada, but it will go to destinations globally. but you also may need an installation team to go with it. So the logistics of getting the cobalt from the reactor where it's manufactured to where it's processed out to the individual operating site is becoming more complicated, and getting an installation team with them if you need it. But if you're building electron beam or X-ray facilities, you need an installation team that has all sorts of different skills. They need to come together. They need to be able to get from wherever their base is to wherever the site is, the equipment is being installed. That's become much more complicated because of the restrictions on travel and movement. So this is, so how do we overcome the challenges? Resolve the supply, some of the tension in the supply of cobalt-60 would be a great way of helping to solve the problem. But that's a long-term, medium to long-term solution. Educating people and improving the understanding and awareness of the technologies, particularly EB and X-ray, would be useful. Looking at planning and licensing issues and greater awareness and so forth of the risks and benefits within the individual countries which benefit from technology is important. And then highlighting the green credentials of radiation processing generally. Not only is it perhaps better than some of the alternative technologies, but also when you start looking at this in terms of environmental, there's electron accelerators are being used quite widely these days. There are many applications from water treatment plants to exhaust emissions on power stations, solving some of the marine contamination issues, ballast moving from one part in shipping from one part of the world to another. So there's many areas where radiation processing can be used to support environmental improvements globally. So the impact of COVID-19...
Mr. Wynn,
yeah.
I'm sorry. We're running. We're a little bit out of time, so if you could wrap up.
Absolutely. That's fine. So COVID-19 has made installation of cobalt-60 more difficult. It's made installation of EB and X-ray more difficult. We've got a shortage of capacity. And people are considering more and more, if you've got long supply chains and you're reliant upon movement of materials internationally, you've got to be thinking about, well, how do we get some capacity locally so that we're independent? There's lots more I could say on this topic. I could go on for ages, clearly, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wynn. And again, thank you for that in-depth overview. Of course, you've mentioned a lot, and there's a lot to add. And but what I get personally that the need is there, and for years to come, 5-10 years, and the market is ready to consume more. We just need to develop capacity, and also we need to work on the regulation and public awareness and acceptance of those solutions, and also improve qualification of people. And I think that this is a very good note to take with our next speaker, Ms. Selina Horak, who is the section head for radioisotope products and radiation technology with IAEA. And we would like to hear IAEA's perspective on these developments and how IAEA supports basically these applications, non-energy applications of nuclear technology, specifically in sterilization as well. So please, Ms. Horak, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And it's also, I'm so happy that Paul was before me because he has introduced all the topics. So it's easy for me now to go forward. So as everyone knows, the use of ionizing radiation for sterilizing healthcare products has been steadily increasing since its introduction in 1915. So it has a long story. Presently, radiation treatment is an essential part of the manufacturing process for nearly half of all single-use medical devices, such as bandage, gloves, labwares, syringes, procedural kits, and many other equipment, such as the protective personal kits that were used also during the COVID. So radiation is an instrumental tool to produce ionizing for the sterilization of medical devices. At the same time, radiation can be powerful in the modification of physical chemical property of protective material to enable changes in their performance as well. So the IAEA can support member states promoting the industrial application of radiation, such as the sterilizing of healthcare products. There are many mechanisms that the IAEA can implement to support their member states. So the first one that I would like to mention are the research coordination project, where scientists around the world agree effort to identify and address common problems or gaps, verifying and validating the product, the prototype that they are producing, but also some processes. The second mechanisms are the technical cooperation projects at the national or regional level, depending on the demands and depending on the needs. IAEA can support member states through training, expert advice, and some smaller equipment. Capacity building, the transference of the technology, and a sustainable implementation strategy are the main goals under this technical cooperation project. So another kind of IAEA contribution can be shown at the beginning of the pandemic. We have a very good example of that. As number of COVID-19 infection increased, shortage in personal protective equipment for staff on the front line of the pandemic continued to pose a problem in many countries. So upon request from several member states, we have received this request from the member state. The IAEA review findings from different institutions that test the use of ionizing radiation, gamma, and also E-beam to sterilize used respiratory masks, such as the model that everyone knows very well now, the N95 and the FFP2, commonly worn by medical personnel, but now is used almost for everyone. We coordinate a task force to compile and review all the information existing, and we identify some gaps on the information and generate an harmonized procedure linked to well-recognized standard to be able to compare the results. All this was a very fast action that we take under this request. All the information was edited and published in a technical report. And the objective of this technical report was to provide scientific and technical information on feasibility of sterilization for reprocessing of disposable medical equipment by ionizing radiation and their acceptability for reuse. IAEA is working with member states to advance the study on sterilization of PPE with emphasis in knowledge gaps through performing tests of irradiation parameters, post-irradiation effects, and components performance, as well as the microbiological validation. In this case, what we have found is that the performance of the filtration mask was affected by radiation technology, something that was unexpected, but it was done. So from the microbiological aspect, it was successfully achieved, but from the performance characteristic, the masks were affected. So it was very important to find this result before to go forward, because many member states was working on that and spending time and money on that. Additionally, and in order to spread the voice on these important and demanding topics, we organized a webinar inviting the scientists involved in this task force that we coordinate to present their findings and conclusions. So we have created different kind of activity in order to react to this request from the member state. And before the webinar, this is an important information that I would like to share with all of you. A survey was deployed to obtain information about the load of work related to the sterilization of medical devices and PPE related to the COVID-19. And most countries report that the volume of protective equipment, personal protective equipment, the PPE, and healthcare product has increased in almost an average of 20 to 30%. And also, in some cases, the demand was not covered. And this technology is well recognized and provides a long list of benefits. So another topic that I would like to mention is the induced modification, no, that the radiation has in different material, especially in the polymers, that provide manifold opportunity for the synthesis of healthcare products such as hydrogel resin, additionally to the sterilization and other purposes that we can use for that. The membrane modification and thermoresponsive matrix for skin tissue cultivation, polymeric scaffold for tissue engineering, drug delivery synthesis, encapsulation of cells toward hybrid organs, nano and microshells, artificial intervertebral discs, among others. These are part of the study that are being covered through the different research coordination projects that we are coordinating. And some related research coordinated project that I would like just to inform to you and share this information is we have two main topics covered. One is the radiation effects on polymer material commonly used in medical devices, where the main objective is to evaluate the influence of ionizing radiation of polymers on medical devices. And the other is enhancing the beneficial effect of radiation processing in nanotechnology. And there are many different objectives. One is deepen the current knowledge in the synthesis of nanomaterial, develop new material and system in the perspective of specific application, mainly in the case of healthcare, and also another kind of application like in food, agriculture, environment, etc., and explore, of course, new possibility for using radiation processing or radiation process nanomaterial for another application area. So these are part of the currently ongoing CRP, the coordinated research project that we are developing with scientists around the world. And we are planning another CRP also on biomaterial and bio-based polymers, because we know about the necessity to go into detail in these new materials and this material that has been already studied in the last time, but we need and we have obtained new data on these very relevant materials. So this is part of the information that I wanted to share with all of you, and I'm open for any question or remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Horak. Obviously, the role of IAEA cannot be underestimated with all this, because with this sensitive technology and highly innovative technologies, we need more coordination, both in research and in the way how it gets implemented in different parts of the world through policy and education and through national regulation as well. And this is where IAEA plays a very important and unique role. And thank you very much for your overview of your activities in the area. So basically, this concludes our discussion on the second topic. We also discussed food security, but also we discussed the application of radiation sterilization technologies in medical applications as well. So we see that there are a number of different applications how you can use nuclear technologies, and all that helps and makes its contribution to different challenges that humanity faces, from food security to health and quality of life. And with this, I would like to move to the final section of our session today, which is on the way how we can use non-energy applications of nuclear technologies for science, research, innovation, education, and human capital development. And with this, I would like to invite Mr. Dmitry Vysotsky, Vice President for Research Reactors and Centers for Nuclear Science and Technology at Rosatom Overseas, to offer his perspective on what the market is for these applications, how exactly science can be supported with nuclear research centers and what Rosatom is offering in this regard. So please, Mr. Wysotsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and dear colleagues. Well, first of all, I would like to expand our understanding of the list of the facilities of non-energy applications of nuclear technologies. We've spoken about the cyclotrons, we've spoken about the radiation plants, and now we can move to talk about the research reactors and to talk about the centers for nuclear science and technologies on the basis of the research reactors, which are generally the first nuclear facility that country goes for when it decides to join the nuclear club. And when not just radiation technology, but also nuclear technologies are applied. In this regard, the research reactor is a unique facility that combines all the pros of science and technology that can contribute into the development of the education, of the science, of the industry, also healthcare and agriculture and some other sectors in the country. And when the country, especially partner countries which haven't had any experience with the nuclear or radiation technologies are considering, let's say, to embark on the nuclear path to integrate the nuclear and radiation technologies, the research reactor is the first actual facility that comes into their mind. And that has to do with a wide range of applications that unites the research reactor. Because the research reactor is not the reactor that generates electricity, it is the reactor that generates neutrons. And then with the help of different sets of laboratories, these neutrons are used to produce the experiments, to do the tests, to change also the contents and the compositions of the materials, to create new materials, to produce the radioisotopes which are further used for the radiopharmaceutical production, to dope silicon which are further used in the electronics industry, and so on and so forth. So the range was quite broad, from the basic training to the commercial applications which are further used in the nuclear medicine, in the industrial applications, in the agricultural applications. My voice is becoming higher and higher. I hope that you can all hear me. And to sum it up, it is important when the country is embarking on the nuclear with the research reactor project with the Center for Nuclear Science and Technology to assess the specific needs of the different stakeholders. And that's the job that is being done by Rosatom with its partner countries, but it's also recommendations, the guidelines which are to be followed, which are developed by the IAEA, which was already here on stage today, to assess the needs, to quantify the needs so that the facility that you're building is in demand and utilized after it is commissioned. From the Rosatom perspectives and experience, we can say that over the 70 years of design and building research reactors and centers for nuclear and science and technology globally, we've done over 120 projects, like roughly 100 projects in Russia and over 20 abroad. We in Rosatom operate the largest fleet of the research reactors in Russia, and is the largest research reactor fleet in the world, which basically more than 50 installations. And that allows us to use the operational experience from the research reactors to bring it to our partner countries when we are discussing the design of the research reactor for specific needs for a specific country. And taking into account different needs of different countries, with different societies, with different levels of development, we've developed the product line of the Centers of Nuclear Science and Technologies on the basis of the research reactor, which we have under the name of RIVA, which stands for the Research Versatile Innovative Reactor. And it has few grades, like RIVA I, which is RIVA Intro, which is RIVA A, RIVA Advanced, RIVA Pro, RIVA Professional. And it has different types of nuclear installations, starting from the subcritical assembly to the multi-purpose research reactor. And of course, with the increase of the complexity of the facility, the functionality increases, and the higher the capacity of the research reactor, the higher, also the broader the range of the applications of the research reactor is. For example, if we speak about the facility which is called River A, River Advanced, it allows with the capacity of the research reactor up to 1 megawatt to produce the radioisotopes and radiopharmaceuticals for a country with a size to up to 10-20 million people. So it can create that local, let's say, independent production manufacturing hub or facility that we've been talking before in the previous sessions. What next? We also combined not just the research reactor as a facility in the Center for Nuclear Science and Technology. We also unite and create the, let's say, integrated scientific and production program to locate also the radiation facility on that site, and also the nuclear medicine facility on that site to build the cyclotron plus the diagnostic and potentially a therapeutic part if there is a need of a specific country to do that. So then on one side you have like an integrated I would say center with the integrated scientific program, with the integrated production program, which has some, I would say, basic educational purposes and scientific purposes, but also has quite practical and quite necessary applications for the healthcare and for the agriculture that we discussed before. And these applications, which are the radiation center and the nuclear medicine centers, can be built whether standalone facilities, as we discussed before, or integrated into this huge center for nuclear science and technologies. Well, in terms of the potential for the research reactors in these centers, well, there is an aging fleet of the research reactors globally. We already touched upon the shortage of the cobalt-60 in the market, which is primarily produced by the research reactors. So there is a demand for research reactors. The demand is not being satisfied quite quick, but there is also a demand from the newcomer countries that want to create, let's say, independent science and technology development, I would say, systems and healthcare systems, and to support the agricultural sector. So we see quite positively the future for the nuclear non-energy installations, all together with the radiation technologies and the facilities on the basis of the cyclotrons and on the radiation plants. One of the projects that we are implementing currently at the moment is kind of unique, because it really shows this idea of how to locate let's say, different facilities. On one side, we are talking about the project in Bolivia, where Rosatom is building the Center for Nuclear Science and Technologies, which consists of the research reactor, which consists of the laboratories to produce, for example, reactor isotopes, but which also consists of the cyclotron complex, which hosts actually cyclotron and production of the pharmaceuticals based on the cyclotron, and also the multipurpose radiation center on the basis of the cobalt-60. The cyclotron complex was commissioned end of last year. The radiation plant we plan to commission this year, and last June we actually made the first concrete for the construction of the research reactor itself, and which planned to be commissioned within the next 4 years. That's basically all in terms of how we see, let's say the other of the hand of the applications of the non-energy technologies, nuclear, which has to do with the science, with the technology, but also has an impact on the practical, I would say, sides of life of the societies and of the economies, to develop also different industries, to develop healthcare sector, and to develop agricultural sector. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wysocki. And I think that point was very important to me, and that when the nation decides to move towards nuclear, whether it's energy or any other application, it starts from research reactor, because that is something that gives a kind of a center of building capacity in the country, but also it already can work as the local manufacturing facilities for isotopes used in different ways, including medicine and others. And I was very impressed with the flexibility of the solutions. You mentioned that you can have one reactor that can produce isotopes for multiple use, depending on the way how you basically configure and build the architecture of the solution. That's really impressive, and I think that now it's an ideal moment of time where we could hear from the basically from the other end of or from other side of the table, and I would like to ask Mr. Nenad Popovic, Minister for Innovations and Technological Development in the government of Serbia. As far as I am aware, there is a certain development in this regard in Serbia, which you are leading, and we would like to hear from your perspective why you decided to move into that domain, and how it is going. What's your aspirations and expectations? So, Your Excellency, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I will continue in Russian, actually.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of this important event. Thank you for assembling this conference. It's very important, it's very interesting, and it's very important to listen to the opinions of colleagues from different countries. We in Serbia are now on the path towards the restoration of the infrastructural potential in the area of application of nuclear technologies for peaceful purposes. Before I answer your question, for a better understanding, I have to mention some important facts that shaped the climate in the area of nuclear technologies in Serbia. Back in the past, the Soviet Yugoslavia announced a moratorium on the construction of nuclear energy installations back in 1989, and that act is still in force, even though Serbia didn't create it and didn't change it. This has inhibited to a significant degree all the activities associated with the nuclear sphere, including scientific studies and the application of innovative nuclear technologies. And I have to say that long-term consequences of that decision are still felt as we speak. And this is why we now have the opportunity to improve the situation in a number of important spheres significantly as far as the application of nuclear technologies is concerned, in particular medicine. But I'd like to emphasize that the link between nuclear technologies and innovations and technological development is unbreakable. We cannot expect accelerated technological development and the progress of civilization without further development and research in the area of nuclear technologies. When we made the decision to build and launch a center in Serbia, we decided to equip the center in such a way as for it to be multifunctional, so that it would engage as many potential partners as a center as possible from pretty much all European countries. And I have to say that at the moment we are talking pretty much to all our neighbors, and we are talking about how we could take advantage of this center for, how should I put it, for practical benefit for Southeast Europe and the Balkans. We believe that the healthcare institutions will become one of the most important users of the services of this new center. the cancellation of the nuclear program in Serbia in the absence of our own infrastructural facilities to produce radiopharmaceuticals and radionuclides hindered the development of nuclear medicine, both in the area of diagnostics and therapy. Radiopharmaceuticals necessary today are being imported, and for us this is not the optimal solution. We want to produce them ourselves. And we're mostly using isotopes with short half-life, such as fluoride 18. We're also planning to use our center as the stable source of radiopharmaceuticals that we will ourselves produce, and we are confident that this will generate a great momentum for the development of nuclear medicine in Serbia. As far as agriculture is concerned, that the previous speaker mentioned, I think that it is a well-known fact that Serbia and former Yugoslavia back in 1963, our main institute, INEP, received and developed a program for the realization of an international project that back then in 1963 was called Nuclear Studies and Staff Training for Agriculture. This is a very interesting fact. So 60 years since then, we are still talking about this, but unfortunately after all these moratoriums, this is the result that we have. But at the same time, we are confident about our bright future. The program that we're pinning great hopes on, alongside with medicine and agriculture, is of course the production of semiconductors. And when planning the configuration of the research reactor in the center, it was agreed that 2 channels will be equipped with instruments for semiconductor works. According to certain assessments, we can produce up to 10 tons of alloyed or doped chromium and or silica, and this industry is being developed in Europe, and the production of our own semiconductors could revive the activities of a number of major companies in the area of electronics. And I have to say that currently we are assessing the opportunities for the establishment of small and medium-sized enterprises that would develop innovative products on the basis of semiconductors that we will produce. And these semiconductors that will be doped in the reactor, they would have very high quality, and they would most frequently be used for the production of electronic components with a large capacity. And electric vehicles, automobile industry, pretty much everyone could benefit from that. They could become the users of the products that we will produce. At the same time, we can take one flux on the basis of which we could produce an imaging or neutron radiography installation. As it is well known, metals that are transparent, they're transparent for neutrons as glass, and for you see, they're transparent just like glass for light, and with the help of neutrons you can get an image of the internal structure of metal objects, for instance combustion engines, compressors, etc. Such visualization or imaging may promote the optimization of design and the operation of engines, where, in the words of all leading engine manufacturers, including aviation or aircraft engines and automobile engine manufacturers, there's going to be a lot of progress in the next 20 years. And I think that this is a very powerful source for the creation of innovative solutions in the area of machinery construction and automobile production. I would also like to mention that neutrons, they can be used in the studies of new materials, and this is why one of the planned objectives for the new center is to accelerate the development of this sphere. And in the end, I don't want to take too much of your time. I'd like to say that one of the key aspects that is probably the most important aspect due to its long-term nature is education and the development of personnel, the development of new staff. We had 3 decades of vacuum, pretty much, where most of the best staff went from Serbia to work in the United States or European companies. We now have to start from scratch, pretty much, and the center will become this rod, the backbone for the development of the new staff. And such a complicated facility as reactor can be used to improve the quality, the level of education in the area of natural sciences and technical sciences, as well as healthcare, agriculture, environmental studies, etc. The opportunity to receive practical knowledge and the experiential studies will promote the increase of the level of such staff. And I will not talk too much about this. I would like to thank all the speakers. Indeed, this was an opportunity to hear a lot of smart things, a lot of good things.
I particularly liked your point that you can't be serious about science and innovation in the country if you don't have nuclear technology and if you don't have a research facility based on nuclear technology. And the examples you gave in medicine, agriculture, and in industry as well illustrate that there are so many applications, so many ways how you can use nuclear technologies in different industries to support science and innovation. And of course, the last point you made about the human capital and the way how the national capacity and capability can be built around this research reactor is also fantastic. So we all wish all the best to the development of your center, and good luck in implementation of your plans and aspirations. And thank you very much again, Your Excellency. And with this, I would like to invite Mr. Hernan Lara, President and CEO of IQ Medical Services, to share some experiences and aspirations as well around the project that Mr. Vysotsky has already mentioned in his speech, the project of Nuclear Science and Technology Center in Bolivia. So, Mr. Lara, looking forward to hearing from you. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you for the invitation. And as Dimitri mentioned before, you're correct. The cyclotron launch in December of early last year was a major achievement for the country Bolivia, but also was a big accomplishment for the Latin American region. The site is built to comply with international standards for the production of radiopharmaceuticals and offers a platform to provide research and development as well as clinical production and commercialization for the product for the country in Bolivia. The implementation of such a facility took a multidisciplinary effort to reach this milestone, including the health and nuclear regulatory bodies of Bolivia, to address the radiation safety of the personnel as well as the safe manufacturing of the injectable drug. Now, reaching this milestone is just the beginning of a journey that will require a collaborative order, that will require the collaborative, in order, it's a long journey that will require a collaborative effort from different parties in order to make it successful. There are 4 areas that I consider important to look into when we're thinking about how to execute and make this project a success in the region. The first one is around the human resources of personnel that operate the cyclotron facility. It is important to partner with universities in Bolivia, as well as also in the region, to develop a pipeline of human resources to make sure that this facility can be operational. When you look into this facility, it requires different type of experience, ranging from mechanical engineer, nuclear engineer to operate the cyclotron, chemists, biologists to run the radiopharmacy lab, as well as quality assurance to execute the strict protocols that are required to operate such a facility. The second is to partner with the doctors that they're going to be the ones that generating the demand. Explain the benefit of using nuclear medicine and the benefit that it brings when doing a diagnosis for patients and also a better treatment planning for the patient. As new innovation radiopharmaceuticals become available through many years of research and development by international academies around the world, this facility has the ability to transfer the technology to Bolivia and offer these new radiopharmaceuticals to the doctors as well as to the patients. The third one is to build a collaborative relationship with the institutions in the regions that are currently doing research and development on nuclear medicine. These are institutions in countries such as Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, Mexico, to mention a few, and they have the experience of developing these molecules, but they may not have access to the innovative technology and equipment that the facility in Bolivia has. So basically, combining the two of them, the expertise, building that collaborative effort between the institutions in the regions and with the equipment technology that Bolivia has to offer, I can only see that there could be a mutual benefit, not only for Bolivia, but also for the region itself. And once you have these three components, human resources, collaboration with doctors, as well as the collaboration with institutions in the region, then this facility will now be ready to establish a relationship with pharma companies. If you look over the last 10 years, pharma companies such as Novartis, Eli Lilly, GE, and Lantheus, they've been investing heavily on the commercialization, on bringing some of these development radiopharmaceuticals into commercial available product. These products are the standards by which the facility in Bolivia has been built complies with what pharma requirements are, and therefore they become a great candidate to offer the services such as running a clinical trial program or registering the product to commercially distribute the products in Bolivia. So as you can see, getting the facility up and running is just the beginning. It's a significant and critical milestone to achieve. Yet there is a long road ahead to guarantee the success of such an establishment. I do believe that success in Latin America region can only be successful if we work collaboratively for the benefit of the patients. But nevertheless, I think in this case in Bolivia, it is important that we have companies like Rosatom that have experience and technology, and also work with the government of Bolivia to take the initiative in starting to build this project and lead the way of the evolution of nuclear medicine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lara. And yeah, I actually very much liked your point about the journey, that it's not just a one-off project. You build the facility, and this is where the journey starts in many directions and in many possible applications of this technology. And I also I was very happy to hear your point about the collaborative nature of this journey, because obviously when you build a facility like that, it can help to engage with different companies, different nations, and so to address the most pressing challenges of the humanity on the regional basis predominantly, but also globally. And well, thank you very much for that perspective. And now we have an interesting kind of part of our discussion, because we will have a panel discussion right here, right now on Zoom. We have 4 experts who are willing to share their perspectives on one specific point. And I would appreciate if we could see the experts on the screen. I will introduce them to the audience. So Professor Edward Kotlarov, International Radiology and Nuclear Medicine Consultants. Dr. Batul Al-Balushi, head and consultant at Dubai Nuclear Medicine and Molecular Imaging Center, Dubai Health Authority. Professor Irina Zavestovskaya, head of Laboratory of Radiation Biophysics of Lebedev Physics Institute of Russian Academy of Sciences and professor of Moscow Engineering Physics Institute. And Mr. Amir Jalilian, Technical Officer, Radioisotope Products and Radiation Technology with IAEA. So the question is that we've been discussing during this last session the concept of centralized facility that can have many different applications in many industries like medicine, agriculture, industry, and other things, research and science and everything. So we would like to hear from you your views and perspectives on what are the benefits and difficulties do you see in implementation of centralized radiopharmaceutical health project, health products production, and will centralization of radiopharmaceuticals production increase the efficiency of existing supply chains? Will it help to quickly respond to the demands of a multidisciplinary healthcare systems? And with this, I would like to invite Professor Edward Kotlerov to offer his views and perspectives. So, Professor, the screen is yours. Turn on your mic, please. You are on mute.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see you, and you need to turn on your mic now because you're on mute.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah, now we can see and hear you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the session.
Sorry for this calamity. Thank you very much for invitation to participate in this forum. I'm radiologist and nuclear medicine physician with cumulative experience in former Soviet Union and United States of over 57 years. So the problem of delivery short-lived radiopharmaceutical is a serious problem everywhere. And it's, you know, the centralized pharmacy and the ability to deliver syringes, or as we say, syringe dose to the medical facility is a paramount importance. It's also very important to have relatively not so long, not so short radiopharmaceutical as a technetium label radiopharmaceutical, which is about 6 hours half-life. Multiple application, which is right now in any community hospital, which include diagnosis of the Parkinson's disease, diagnosis of the thyroid and parathyroid diseases, diagnosis of the neuroendocrine tumors. Those are everyday diagnostic procedures. We also have more routine studies such as ventilation perfusion lung scan with technetium macroaggregate and ventilation agents. it all depends how quickly it would be delivered to the medical facility. And it has to be a syringe dose already calibrated for timely injection. Would you have any questions to me?
Thank you very much, Professor. We may return in a little while, and for now, I would like to invite Dr. Batul Al-Balushi to offer his perspective on the matter.
Hello.
Doctor?
Hi. Good afternoon. I would like to thank Rosatom and the whole team for inviting me for this unique event. Regarding your question for central pharmacy and the application of nuclear medicine, it definitely will help for the growth of nuclear medicine and research. Let's say roughly there are in UAE 10,000 is our population, and from this 10 million, sorry, and about 95% of population are expats who are coming for working and immigrating. So our resources for research is very limited because we cannot follow up them when they leave, or they leave their management when it comes to high cost and they go to their home countries. So our researches in these fields are very limited. So if we have our central pharmacy or developing our research resources, we can investigate and do some researches in new radionuclides which are coming up and make tremendous changes in this regard. Actually, in UAE, the cancer is the third cause of death, and about 5,000 are having the mortality of the cancer patient. And one of the UAE national agenda is that to reduce this death rate for cancer patients. So definitely we are in need of such facilities. However, it depends on government support and health budget. And the most important in UAE market is the coordination between public and private sector and partnership. Otherwise, I don't think we have financial or logistic issues. It's just a matter of time to get online with others and to approach such innovation in UAE. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arbalashi. And our next expert is Professor Irina Zavistovskaya. Please, Professor, the screen is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to say some words about the nano-radiopharmaceutical and maybe what we can use the regional big center, big research nuclear center to push these directions. Now we realize two big projects, one in the framework of the state program of the development of a cyclotron and neutron investigation and infrastructure. And this project deals with the proton therapy and proton tomography. And one of the directions is to use the nanoparticles of non-radioactive elements with a high atomic number as a contrast agent in radio imaging and synthesis of radiotherapy. And another one is the project in the framework of the Rosatom projects to create two types of targeted nanopharmaceuticals. The first is the technology of production of nano-radiopharmaceutical based on radionuclides and silicon nanoparticles. And the second is the production of nanoparticles from non-radioactive metal salt, and then their activation in the neutron reactor. And in all cases, we are faced with the problem of that we need and sometimes we lack the industrial production of nanoparticles and carriers and possibility of development of targeting delivery technology for existing radiopharmaceutical production technology, reactors or others. In this sense, the creation of large regional industrial hubs would contribute to the development of technologies focused on specific of radiopharmaceutical production, targeted non-radiopharmaceutical, and thereby to faster production and maybe to translate in the real clinical practice. This is especially true for new technologies such as laser production of nanoparticles and giving them radioactive properties in nuclear reactors. So the development of regional hubs may make it possible, maybe, to standardize all stages of this technology for the possibilities of real production of radionuclide, including reactor ones. Thank you. I think so.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you. And our last speaker in this session is Mr. Amir Jalilan. Mr. Jalilan, the screen is yours, please.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure here this afternoon with you from Vienna. And also thanks a lot to Rosatom and all colleagues here. I make it short and quick. There were two important issues and nice items raised by the Excellency and also the moderator. First was the installation of centralized facilities, not only the radiopharmaceutical facilities, but also facilities like research reactors or cyclotron. I would say from an IAEA perspective, one of the major goals and major steps in introduction of nuclear science and technology to the member states are installations of new machineries like cyclotrons and research reactors. And IAEA has been always supporting the member states at national and international level to support them with the installation, procurement of items, also human resource development. This is one of the most important parts of such developments. And no mention that with interaction with the academic stakeholders in the country and the region, this is going to be more fruitful, both for the countries and the neighborhood. However, the decision on the centralized radiopharmacy and stuff like that, as Dr. Balushi already mentioned, for small cities, small countries, it's very nice, very, very doable, and very cost effective and efficient if you have a central radiopharmacy. And it's also very nicely because the centralization of the experts, human scientists, experts in one place, it really reduces the cost and etc. However, when you look at the larger countries or bigger territories, this becomes a little bit of problem. So again, there are ways of doing and managing the cost and facilities. They also have the satellite approach so that each day or each week, one of these production facilities work and they cover the others. Or in case of shutdown or problems in the system, they can very nicely support each other. So, of course, IAEA is supporting all member states on that course, not only the research reactors, but also a lot of cyclotron facilities. For more information, I think all the people and respected participants today can take a look at the IAEA research reactor database. It has a nice overview of all the research reactors worldwide working, pending, and planned to be started, and also IAEA database for cyclotrons used in radiopharmaceutical production, which covers more than 1,000 cyclotrons worldwide producing radionuclides. And thank you so much, and any questions, please, at your service.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jalilan. And yeah, this concludes our discussion in the third session, and basically this concludes the discussion as a whole. So I would like to say thank you very much to all the speakers and the experts who contributed to this discussion. I think it was very insightful and very fruitful in terms of increasing awareness and getting better understanding on the developments of the non-energy applications of the nuclear technologies. We heard about the way how these technologies can address such pressing issues as healthcare and medicine, and specifically in such serious diseases as cancer and cardiovascular diseases as well. We heard about the sterilization applications in food that will help to extend shelf life and reduce food waste and basically feed more people on Earth. And also we heard about the way how these technologies can be applied to sterilize medical equipment, which is specifically important now when we have this pandemic that is not going to end anytime soon. And also the industrial applications as well, that you can basically use these nuclear technologies in different industries to develop new products, new components in for different industries basically, and help to innovate far beyond nuclear industry. And also this is something that helps to build local capacity and capability in achieving sustainable development goals. One thing in particular I like the most is that each and every reactor becomes a center of the ecosystem that actually integrates all the different applications and many, many different participants, both locally and internationally. And this idea of collaborative development of non-energy nuclear applications and is very inspiring. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Rosatom for arranging this very insightful roundtable, inviting me as a facilitator, and I would like to wish all the participants a bright future for your developments, and you're saving lives, you're improving quality of life of people, you're feeding people, you help people to innovate and achieve their dreams. And that's amazing, great. Thank you very much, happy to be part of it. Thank you, have a good day.